the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
AVWeek is produced and distributed through a partnership with AVNation and Rave Publications. For more information, go to ravepubs.com/AVNation. This is AV Week, episode 24 for Friday, January 13th, 2012. 2-Ton Tim.
Ready.
AV Week.
Performing. Scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AV Week. AV Week. It's time for AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news, information, and I swear to you there will be some commentary. I am your host, Tim Albright. Welcome. This week we have on the panel Matt Scott from Omega Audio Video. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. George Tucker, he's from World Stage. Hey, George.
Hello.
Chris Neto, the AV Help Desk. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing swell.
Adrian Boyd from Vector Sketch. It just keeps going.
I'm doing well. I'm surviving the snow.
Adrian's in St. Louis with me, and he's surviving the snow. And live from Las Vegas, Nevada, from the CES show floor, it's Rich Fregosa.
Hello, your embedded correspondent in Las Vegas.
I was really hoping that you hadn't dropped off at that point. Today, we're going to talk about Siri and Crestron because I'm a big fanboy. Lowe's getting into control and 1,000-foot VGA. But first, we're going to take it to Rich. Rich, just kind of give me a short synopsis, kind of what the best and worst of CES has been this year.
I forgot how big this show is. It's a shade under 2 million square feet this year.
Really quickly, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you. I forgot to mention something. You're not there by yourself. You are guest blogging for CEPro and Julie Jacobs and the folks.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
this is my first time as a member of the press, and funny story, I almost didn't get my press pass. I actually had to prove that I was a legitimate member of the press when I was getting my badge, and I had to hold up my iPhone showing my CEPro byline to say, nice. please give me my badge. So the power of technology already helped at CES. But yeah, I'm doing a guest blogging stint, and they pretty much let me go around and take a peek at things that caught my interest and reported back, and as an adjunct to their phenomenal coverage. I mean, you'll see between CEPro and some of the other magazines who are there and reporting, there's going to be a lot of information over the next few days and next week that it's almost like being there by the time they're done. They're doing a fantastic job.
Excellent. So yeah, what is the best and the worst then of this year's CES?
I'm obviously the big thing that everybody's been talking about is the OLED and LG's and Samsung's OLEDs. Their 55-inch displays are gorgeous, absolutely beautiful.
Real quickly question about that. I had heard a report that LG's was not market ready, that they're just showing the manufactured version, whereas the other one was ready to go to market. Is that true?
Samsung's ready to go to market. LG, I heard the same reports. I was trying to get a little bit more information on that. And then, of course, what happens when everybody thinks OLED is going to be the story of the day, we hear the reports from Sony that, they're selling their production, their stake in the factory for LCD, and then right before the show they mentioned by the way, we're pulling out of OLED, and of course, what did they show that nobody knew about? The Crystal TV, which is their Crystal LED TV. Long story short, it's true LED TVs, 6 million individual RGB LEDs.
No
big pixels. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no pitch. There's no what?
Yeah, it's basically they are using the LEDs as the light source.
Wow.
So, yeah, They're mounted directly on the display. I bet basically what they're saying is in terms of their specs, the image is about 3.5 times higher contrast and about 1.5 times wider color gamut, and it's like 10 times faster than LCD as it exists right now. And it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. They had both prototypes, the only 2 units in the world, right there, and I mean I was probably not more than 5.5 feet away from them, and they actually have people guarding around. Somebody tried to get a little bit too close, and you thought that there was going to be kind of that Secret Service tackle occurring. It was just like tango, down. It was like guys speaking into their wristwatches on that one. But it was something to behold, and literally they've got 2 of them right now, and they brought them out to the show, and it was amazing. I mean, now I understand what Sony was trying to do. At first, I really felt, and I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, it felt like, this is your granddaddy's Sony, and that their pursuit of innovation was kind of going by the wayside. This was a bold statement,
Okay.
I mean, to step away from everybody.
The question is now, can they sell it? Because they couldn't do the OLEDs.
Very possible. But at this point, with the unit, the way that this unit looks, I wouldn't bet against them.
Okay, really. Very good. Anything else, or what was maybe the silliest or the not so greatest thing you saw?
Oh gosh, everybody and their uncle had headphones. I mean, it was you couldn't turn around. I mean, headphones. 10 years ago, everywhere you looked, everybody was making a speaker. Now they've all been replaced by headphones. Bluetooth headphones, wireless headphones, high-performance headphones. The cool ones were the Shock Jock headphones, which they actually attach to your jaw, basically, and they actually transmit through the bone. So they're not in ear. They go on your cheeks so that your ear canal is open, and you can, pull in ambient sound, but you're still listening to the music. It was very surreal. It was very
yeah. I'm not sure I'd like that.
It wasn't as uncomfortable as I thought it would be, or as disorienting, and you kind of adapted to it pretty quickly. And so this is technology that they've been using like for the military and for years and years, and they're now adapting it primarily for sports use. And for athletes and for people who are working out, so that if you're running or jogging, you can still listen to the ambient sound. You're not locked off from the rest of the world, but you can still listen to your music while you're working out. So it was pretty cool.
Well, and I also get it because there are some things when you deal with, we all, a lot of us have kids. As my children get older, they're going to want something like, an iPod or something like that, and I don't want them having control over the volume because they're not going to know not to blast their eardrums out. So something like that would help.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, it was. There's a whole lot of different uses for it. I think you're going to see more and more of that over time. As there's going to be a generation that you're going to be dealing with tinnitus problems. That we're learning turn this stuff down, and if you can prevent them from actually going in your ears themselves, that's going to help a whole lot more.
Yeah. All right, sir. Well, enjoy Vegas.
I got one last one because this is my absolute favorite. Was the Emperor workstation. It is named such because it is an actuator-driven workstation with a tail, much like a scorpion, an Emperor scorpion comes in. You sit in, and it's a fully ergonomic workstation. So if you remember the movie Swordfish, where you kind of had that big station, you can have up to 3 24-inch LED displays mounted in front of you. Full controls. It's amazing. Actually, I have some pictures up on it a little bit later, and it is the ultimate geek workstation, and it can be yours for the low asking price of $6,000.
So one has already been delivered to Casa de Fregosa, hasn't it?
Pictures may be forthcoming. I've actually tried to explain to my wife.
You did, didn't you?
Benefits, if I'm in an ergonomically correct chair. Actually invested in my health at this point, and really, it's too much to ask for my health.
Their answer, if she was my wife, would be yes. But
exactly.
Oh, that is awesome, though. Well, thank you so much. You can check out Rich's stuff on at least for CES on CEPro's website and probably in their magazine. You can check his website, fregosadesign.com, and I think Rich is actually going to be on for the full show next week. But I don't want to risk the bandwidth in Vegas this week, so.
Exactly. Thanks, guys, for having me on,
Thank you, Rich.
I'll see you when I get back from Vegas.
Okay, doke. Awesome. That was Rich Fregosa. You guys were awfully quiet.
You guys were talking.
Well, I said, you guys can ask questions and whatever.
Well, we didn't want to be too rude.
I'm Canadian. I'm polite, remember?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I
Yes.
can't cut in.
But the rest of us aren't Canadian, so this is
Hey, I'm
AVWeek. As a reminder, that was Rich Fregosa, but on the call is Matt Scott, George Tucker, Chris Neto, and Adrian Boyd. I don't make any apologies about being a Crestron fanboy. One of the things that came out this week was from The Verge, and Crestron's they call it an innovative little thing where they're going into plug-and-play. This is what The Verge calls it, plug-and-play control to home theaters. Matt, we'll start with you because you've done some Crestron. You also do some Lutron. Is this something that Control 4 or Savant or other lower-end entities that are not quite plug-and-play but are pretty simple to get into, is this something that they should be worried about?
Yeah, I think it is. Now, if you've watched the video, and anybody who knows Crestron and integration and programming side of it will know that what that integrator did is by no means easy. It is by no means a plug and play, just pull it out of the box, plug it in, and hey, we're good. That being said, it is insanely cool. I think it's definitely something that, Crestron was promoting it like crazy. All their reps on Twitter were pushing it out. So I'm sure they're working on it. And I know that's been one of the biggest things with Siri, people just finding ways that they can use it. So, you take that application and make it essentially a stock option on, Crestron or any other control device, and that's going to be absolutely gigantic. So, yeah, I'm sure Savant, who's very, very close with Apple, will be working on that already, most likely. And if they're not, they're definitely doing it now. Same with Control 4. So it's going to be it's the first fairly I guess fairly simple in terms of it's still programming, but it's not like crazy voice control type application stuff. So it'll be very, very cool.
No, and here's the thing. There's another story we have this week about Siri and Crestron. But George, is this something where I think it's cool just because it's Crestron, but it's also our industry and at least one entity of our industry getting noticed outside of Rave Publications or CEPro. The Verge is a technology blog.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, the the coverage they've been getting on Gizmodo and Engadget picked up some of this stuff because this sits right at the heart of what they're seeing as one of the tenets of the critical mass for home automation. It's got to be able to do in some manner. Guy walks in, you change out the piece of gear. So think of it this way, actually. You have an existing system. Somebody needs to come in and change out a DVD player because you went from a regular DVD player to a Blu-ray player. How much money does that cost? Right?
Yeah.
I'm not asking for real numbers there, Matt, but you know me. You know that. It's programming time, it's prep time, it's installation time. That's just too much money. It's same thing as saying, with your touchscreens, why can't I change certain buttons on my touchscreen without having the programmer come in? They're all finally starting to get this. Hey, you know what? That's not a profit center like flat panel hangings were years ago. So this plug-and-play thing, I think the quote-unquote Crestron inside, all they need is like a 4-tone musical logo now.
Doon, doon, doon. Sorry.
Although they always play the Darth Vader theme when Randy comes in, so maybe that one.
That's his own personal theme.
On a loop in his head. Did I say that out loud?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I'll edit that in the mix. Maybe
dun,
not.
dun, dun, dun. Sorry.
But this plug and play thing is really cool. Now, my concerns are where they're going to do. Is it for every Crestron system, or is it just for the sort of Prodigy lower end mid price section? Because there's a qualitative luxury appeal to Crestron that I don't know if plug and play would actually work with. From a programming perspective, all the guys are going, Great. Save time, make money, get more jobs done. But I do have a little bit of a concern there about how you would market these high-end pieces of gear that now start to look and sound like they're just off of Best Buy's rack.
Hey, you! Wow.
Now, I will say this. I can't see this going into the higher-end products by any means. But it reminds me of some of the Bose systems, which I'm not here to debate the quality of Bose or whatnot. But
oh, come on!
No, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to get into that one. But we recently became a dealer because people are asking us for it. Notwithstanding, their system and their plug-and-play capability is ridiculously easy. So when you look at that in a Crestron solution and essentially say, okay, well, I have some of that capability of ease of use to install and make, get up and working quickly, but with Crestron's, support and Crestron's history of insanely good control products, that's going to be gigantic.
But Chris, we'll bring you in on this. Do you think that this is maybe Crestron's swipe back at people like Savant and Control4 and all these other guys, Claire Controls, who have in the last 6 months to a year have kind of honed in, kind of nudged in on their resi market?
You know what? I'm listening to the conversation and I'm trying to put it together, and what I'm seeing is the opposite. I'm thinking this is not them, getting in on Crestron's market. I think it's sort of like Crestron is the corporate, preferred choice of programming. They battle AMX, and that's the two big ones in the pro world, right? And then, as you see, like in the corporate world now, all these consumer products are hitting our, or me personally, I'm in the corporate world, so it's like you see these consumer products being introduced into the conference rooms. I think it's sort of like they just want to play with what's coming, and I think they see it. That's my opinion. I don't think it's the other way around.
I would agree. That's a very accurate point because it's something where, as an industry, the corporate world has really, you still have your Fortune 500s and all the big boys, but there are a ton of quote unquote small businesses that want that technological advancement and capability, but can't pay the price or are not willing to put the investment in for some of the more traditional Crestron products. And this is where this type of application coming in at a lower cost, hopefully, or some of the other be it RTI or whoever else is already kind of playing in that market or trying to play in that market. They're just hitting the market better.
So this is their defense, I guess, against the smaller, less expensive solutions.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's also a trend here. I mean, everything is going towards a more universal approach. We've got tons and tons of gear that we once thought would not be in a teleconferencing system, yet you've got the smart TVs coming along that have all this stuff rolled into it. I mean, back in the day, Crestron made a bunch and still makes a bunch of products that were sort of telestrators and control systems and storage devices and part of a teleconferencing system. A lot of that can be rolled into a flat panel.
Hey, I sit home with my 55-inch TV with the little Skype camera built into it, right on top with the app built into the TV. I don't even have to turn on my PC anymore. Granted, I don't have to, or my cell phone or my tablet or anywhere else I can have a camera attached to. But the fact that it's there in my house. When I started in the industry back in the 90s and I was installing, ISDN-based video conferencing systems, at 128K speed, my TV at home and my video equipment at home right now, which came inside the box, is better than what I did in 98 on ISDN, and I thought that was great.
I loved ISDN.
Yeah. Well, what a lot of people are kind of forgetting, if you want to interject, back in, I think it was 2002, AMX was doing some stuff. I saw it at Cedia. They were trying to embed via Java basically their entire control infrastructure into devices, so that you could basically plug it in either 232 or IR, and the system would go, oh, you're a box like this, I'm automatically configured. And it didn't do so well. So now Crestron they got it in. They developed that relationship with TI for those mid-grade DLP projectors. Going into small business, education that already had the the control macro and everything you would need to hang on the network and plug it into a control system at a small price and minimize the programming costs.
Well, Adrian, not to interrupt you really quick, but not only have they done that with TI, but they've also done that with 3LCD.
Yeah, and so it was the kind of thing that minimize the programming costs, get us into markets that traditionally, you always struggle with getting a control system in. It's like, oh, your projector's got this built-in Crestron macro. All you need now is just this, small little touch panel or even a keypad. You can now control your room. Or an iPad. And, people go, oh, I don't need to spend, $10,000 plus in order to do a control system for my little piddly room? Okay.
And this is kind of what one of George's, I'm not going to say favorite, but one of his pillars that he pounds on a lot. And that's, don't build your business around a crumbling infrastructure. Don't build your business around hanging flat panels. It might be the time where we shouldn't build our business around programming. Are we there yet, or are we getting there? Is that what we're seeing here, where programmers? I've worked with a lot of really good programmers, and I mean, there's some, we get some great programmers, with us. I think that the shift is starting to happen where people are really beginning to question, well, why am I spending so much on programming where I can do, they're being shown the alternatives where it's, it just does it for you automatically, or it figures it out for you. And then people are beginning to scratch their head going, why is it so much money? And when I talk to integrators, it's, you can lessen your programming costs by streamlining infrastructure, by keeping consistent gear, write the program once, and then just copy and paste over and over and over. And that's a good deal. That's a smart idea. And it's eventually going to get to the point where if, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing is the programmer's not going to go away, but their role will be different, when we look at how our technology is evolving. Yeah, it definitely sounds like that's the way we're going, is there will be a place for them for those specialized systems or those really big, combine, divide classrooms and stuff like that. But to put a system in a house, knock yourself out. The guy that owns, Matt could go in and walk in an hour, configure the entire system without having to hire a programmer at $200-300 an hour.
Yeah, and that's becoming, one of the biggest aspects definitely of the resi market is, we still have guys putting 50,000, 100,000 and above, theaters in, but we have a lot of people that just want, their TV on the wall. We don't need all the gear we used to. They just want it in, they just want it to work, and, they don't want 50,000 remotes kicking around. So it is all about, making it easy, making it work, and, not having programming costs that are ridiculous because people, they don't want to pay for it anymore.
And they don't have the money to pay for it anymore.
Exactly.
I mean,
they see the iPads, they see all that stuff and go, well, hold on. I saw in the commercial that they just hit the button and it goes.
Yeah.
Right? And like that Crestron, the iPod commercial that has the Crestron app in it is great because I can, I always come back and go, hey, have you seen that commercial with the app? You could do that too. And a lot of times they go, oh, great. So what's that, like $50? No.
Well, there is a free version. Let's start there.
Right, but it's all the interface behind it.
Yeah.
So as that slowly, and again, it's our general consumers. They do not, especially in the resi and even in a lot of the commercial market, they don't understand all the background that's required to make those types of things happen. So to them, it's just
stuff.
Pardon?
The heavy lifting stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't know what's required to make that cool iPad, app work or that whatever situation work. So again, when it comes down to dollars and cents, anything that allows the integrator to do more with less and charge less is going to be good.
Yeah.
That's why there's a market for Harmony remotes and Prontos back in the day. I mean,
Oh, you're hurting me.
Hey, you know what? Harmony has.
But
I don't care
there's
what Harmony has.
But
I don't care what people.
There's also that trend. I mean, we talked about the trend of more and more prosumer devices sort of crossing lines between residential and business and high end. But there's also that sense of a standard in programming. It's coming. Now, we've all been talking about it, and I know I've personally have ranted and raved about
George, you're talking about standards. Just to
I know. Alert. But is this not also a defense in saying you want to make a standard? We're already embedded.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that, George. I mean, I don't. I mean, unless Kumbaya comes around and we all start doing whatever.
Right.
Well,
AMX and Crestron. Hang on, AMX and Crestron are not going to come together on a standard. I'm sorry.
Well,
it would be a sign of the apocalypse.
Also do by popularity, or not necessarily popularity, but who's there the most, and sometimes that becomes at least the de facto.
When we look at the computer world, where a lot of our touch panel GUIs have kind of emulated over the last couple of years, especially with web-based applications. Windows GUI, an Apple GUI, even a Linux GUI, they're all kind of consistently the same. You can change the lipstick a little bit, put your own backgrounds and colors and so on, but I always know where things are going to be based on the operating system. We kind of, when you look at Infocom, when they developed the dashboard, it was the same kind of idea. Keeping things in the same location so you could have that muscle memory to get you back to that handheld remote control. Because when I hold a remote control in my hand, I always know where volume is, I always know where channel is, and mute and so on. And it's getting the same thing. So we can make them look pretty, but, as George is saying, we need to standards will help. Because, if they're embedded and they're saying, hey, it's going to work like this, and you're going to have the consistency, it'll be more easy to sell the product. You'll get it into more places. And that's kind of how things are going. One of the big things I learned a long time ago when working with touch panel systems is learning how an individual interacts with the technology. One of the things that we found is, if your buttons are too big or too small, it completely affects how someone memorizes how a system works and how they use it. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, you should be able to have anybody walk into a room cold, look at a GUI and go, oh, I know how this works and I can make it run. You don't need to have a 25-minute training lesson, to teach the secretary or the grandma or whoever to run a system. They should just walk in and intuitively go, oh, I want the TV, it turns on, or oh, I need a video conference, and it works.
Yeah,
and
ideally,
that's what makes standards, more important and more consistent.
Yeah, but even standards you can screw up. So you're listening to AV Week. That right there is Adrian Boyd. Also on the call is Chris Neto, George Tucker, and Matt Scott. One thing that came out of CES this week that we'll touch on is Microsoft is saying that the Kinect is coming to the PC in February. Something that we'll start with you, George, on this. The thing that struck me was the fact that, not to pounce on Crestron more, but they've kind of gotten into the Siri, iPad infrastructure and environment. But they're a partner with Microsoft. Wouldn't it have made more sense? Because, Xbox and the Kinect is gesture and voice. So why wouldn't they have partnered with them for that?
Well, I think you're talking about economies of scale here. I mean, who do they want to go after for this, and what are they looking for? I'm sure that somewhere down the line there'll be something like this for Crestron, AMX, perhaps others. I don't see that being an impediment. It almost looks like they're doing the kit like they did in the early days when the hackers first broke into the Kinect, right? We talked about this a couple of shows ago. And they said, no. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, okay. We hadn't thought of that. Money. I think it's a really good idea. It's a natural growth of what happened, and that they're now making it something that's theirs is both good and bad. One, yes, there'll be a mass market appeal, easy to use, implement. The hackers are probably going to be disappointed on how they've limited it and learned the lessons of what these guys broke into. But when you saw some of the hacks, there's three-dimensional spatial mapping that these things were doing. That's a boon to automation, whether it's high-end or it's the low-end off-the-shelf stuff that could possibly connect to it. I mean, this stuff wouldn't be very rocket science. It would be connect that plug-in, tell it its dimensions, map it out like you would, an old remote, and you've got this auto Siri voice gesture. I can't believe I said that, gesture command. I'm telling you, Marcel Marceau will be an icon in the home automation business. We're all going to learn how to flow that hand.
All right, for those who don't know who Marcel Marceau is, he is probably the only famous mime. But he's a famous mime.
And respected. That's the thing. Famous and respected.
He's not respected. He's French.
One of the neat things I read in an article that related to this is why it took so long for Microsoft to bring out a Windows version only.
Steve Ballmer.
No, it had to do with the throw distance of the cameras built into Kinect. Because
those are limited, yeah.
Because, if you're using Kinect with an Xbox, you're in a range of 6 to 8 feet, right? Mm-hmm. Your living room. Well, stick it on a computer, you're now limited to, 24 inches, 13 inches. It's a smaller distance. So they had to reconfigure that. That's why there's a price difference between the two. They look the same, they may smell the same, they have the same interface, but, you had to make it more friendly for, a computer environment.
Yeah. I just think it's cool, so...
Tim?
Yes, sir.
This is going to sound bad. I know a guy who's been playing. Yeah, of course. That's been playing with the voice command stuff with the Crestron.
Uh-huh.
He's dying to get the gesture piece down because what it's going to do and what Microsoft has done with the Kinect is allow for one to check the other. So now there's no question that you just said volume up if you are now following that with your left-hand movement. It's pinpoint accuracy now.
Okay.
It's double checking. So if you start looking at it that way, you're now opening up a whole new way to operate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, and this stuff like this is cool to me because it is Jetsons, it is Star Trek, where you can walk into your living room and there are programmers who can do this that say, when you say, honey, I'm home, they can recognize your voice. And then there are all sorts of little steppers you can do. When you walk in the door, it does X, Y, and Z.
See, I noticed you used good movie references. Where's Hal in this? Where is...
Hey, Hal was okay.
And remember, we've had voice recognition technology in the home automation field for a long time. Julie... last episode mentioned this, but it's always been at a price point that it's been impetitive to a lot of people. It's either too expensive or it doesn't work right or, someone's voice is different because it's a cold and then it's all messed up. So we're now getting it at a price point where the masses can see it and go, hey, that's cool. I want it in my house or I want it in my office or something like that. But so it's definitely going to open up avenues for integrators and companies, start learning this and say, hey, this is probably going to be something that we can work with and have as a revenue stream for at least 5-6 years.
Yeah.
My question on it will be, what is it going to cost in programming time? Because if it's a push and play type application and a little bit of configuration here and there, that's fine, but it's still going to be at a pretty serious price premium, I would assume, to make it effective for most people.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess in my head I've always envisioned it doing kind of what Kinect does now, and Kinect does now on the Xbox is basically you just kind of tell it what to you say Xbox do this, Xbox do that, and it just does it. And it's limited, but it has some built-in already out of the box.
It's the expansion of that, though, that concerns me. Because, yes, that aspect is very simple. But when you start getting into the whole, Xbox, turn on my TV and switch to da-da-da-da-da-da, that's where again, inside the box, I think it'll be fine. No. It's when we start to get outside of the box, which is really where it gets cool. When we can say, hey, Xbox, let's, start up Ghost Recon and turn down my lights.
Yeah.
That's when it'll be cool. Or insanely cool, I should say.
Insanely cool.
Insanely cool.
From CEPro magazine, this goes to Mr. Scott because he's our Resi guy. Lowe's is going to start selling a cloud-based home management system. I put on there a home control system because it will let you do some control. The product is called Iris, and they said it'll be introduced in mid-2012. Matt, is this something that you should be worried about, that other resi guys should be worried about? Or is this kind of geared to the DIYer who hasn't quite gotten his DIY chops yet?
I think it's kind of that whole, DIY type situation. I know that they, are currently selling even some basic rudimentary lighting control stuff.
Yeah, they're doing Lutron.
Well,
The shades that at Cedia.
Yes, you can get some of the shades now, or will be able to get some of the shades now. But again, it's very limited in what you can do. So yes, this will be very, very, very cool. And, all those DIY guys will flock to this kind of stuff because it gives them some capability. As far as it really cutting into our market, maybe a little bit. This reminds me of when Home Depot started saying that they were going to install flat panels, which happened about 4 years ago, I believe. And a bunch of the custom install guys got very concerned. And, I kind of looked at a few of my friends who were concerned and said, really? You expect this to be, like, hard for us? What, like, it's going to, it's the same as when Best Buy first jumped into it. Were they any good at installing when they started? No. We could all come in afterwards and, hit it properly if the customer wanted that. It's the standard thing of what's the price point and who's the demographic for this. Yeah. Because I know my clients, I have one or two who like to mess around with DIY stuff. So yeah, they might go get this to play with it because they think it's cool. But are the guys that are going to Lowe's to buy automation calling me at the same time to price match? or
probably not.
Quote on the same thing. No, they're not. So to me, that's the biggest thing. It's as far as it cutting into my business, I don't see it really doing that because, again, it's only capable of doing so much. Our big cable company in Ontario has brought out the same type of thing that they're trying to sell, and they got commercials all the time about it. And I have yet to quote against it or have a client request it because they all know what it is and they're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sorry.
It's Canadian. It's a cable company. It's
whatever. Well, exactly. So it comes with that whole thing. The good side of this for me is that it gets hopefully every customer who walks into a Lowe's in the next year or so will see an ad for this and go, ooh, home automation. I've never really thought of that. And the plus will be that the more people who know about it, it just expands the pot.
Well, I guess that's my other side. My glasses half full.
Yeah, that's the big plus for me. Is the more people who know that this type of technology exists and it is obtainable. Maybe what I offer is more expensive than this will be, and it is. But yeah, most people they still don't know that this stuff exists. They don't know that it's available.
Okay.
So anything that happens to build these industries that people don't understand is all good by my view.
So, Chris, is this really kind of the broad mass market introduction of control? I mean, you have people like Engadget and The Verge, which aren't mainstream. It's not NBC Nightly News. Brian Williams is not talking about this, but it's still more mainstream than our trade magazines. Is this kind of our introduction, the AV industry introduction to America?
Maybe. I mean, I don't see it being a problem for the residential market that Matt's speaking about. It's somebody at Lowe's who is either going there to see that or stumbles across that while at checkout line. I mean, that's what you're going to get with that. I think the only interesting thing I've seen about home automation that's even caught my eye at any of these places has been, a Wi-Fi thermostat where I can check the temperature of my house and raise it from, the internet. Yeah. And those are sold there. I mean, outside of that, I'm not going to go buy home automation at Lowe's at this point.
No, but
that's
you
me.
also
I
know
have
that more is available.
On that. Yeah.
You also know that there's more available. Just like when I walk into a customer and start talking about Lutron, they very quickly go to, oh yeah, the dimmers they sell at the depot. And I'll, pull out a demo one, and it's, the Maestro look, and they'll look at it and go, oh yeah, they have that at the depot. I'm like,
okay, so but
no, they don't.
to that point though, I mean, Iris is not a Crestron or AMX control system, so maybe I'm stretching by saying this is the introduction. Maybe it's just, here's a market that we can dumb down, or here's a product that we can dumb down and sell mass market to Americans?
Kind of. I mean, when I read the article and I looked at it, I'm familiar with the UK company that's kind of doing a lot of this that Iris is based off. It's kind of like a bridging device. You know, it lets you hook up a thermostat, you know, hook up your security system, you know, plug a few appliances in, a few lights, and monitor it from your iPad or from your computer and kind of, oh, here's my energy usage. That's kind of what this thing is. It's more of a, oh, look, someone left the TV on the other room. Look how much power I'm wasting. You know, my security system says the front door's not locked. It's just a bridging device.
It's a way for you to worry, is what it is.
Yeah,
my front door's unlocked and my TV's on. Dadgummit.
Yeah, I mean,
Junior's in trouble.
Well, at least you know the TV's still on. No one took it.
And it's not missing. So
you know, remember the days when your dad would walk in the room and go, "Who touched the thermostat?" Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But Adrian,
I don't
you brought up.
You trying to heat the outside or cool the outside, depending on which season it is.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point. The people that are going to be looking for something like this, at least I could foresee them, and Matt probably has definitely more experience on this than I do, is the vacation home guy who needs to make sure that the heat is on in his shack up in Maine for skiing, because if that goes down, he's going to burst water pipes. Like, that is the application I think the guys going to Lowe's are going to be looking for, more so than, you know, walking in or getting into their job and forgetting to turn the kitchen light off.
Or the iron
I think
off,
that's
so.
Yeah, definitely, because again, a lot of the real DIY guys, the true, the guys that are listening to our DIY podcast, which is great, by the way, they're not playing. They're not playing with this stuff. They're playing with even more hodgepodge, if you will, and I don't mean to, downgrade that, industry, if you will, at all. But they're fiddling with stuff. They're not buying off the shelf. Boom, here's a system and it works.
No, these are Linux guys. So let's start with that.
Well, I mean, but to a certain degree, there are guys who do that. Like, Honey the wife wants to use something that she knows is going to work. Boom.
There you go.
All right, you put this in, you're done. And in my opinion, this stuff is that hook by crook and brick by brick, mass market acceptance is coming. If Lowe's and alarm companies and Verizon and telephone companies think they can sell products like this with this kind of connectivity and control, they're going to look to expand their market and expand their offerings. It's a vertical market for them.
Okay, so let me ask a general question to anybody that wants to answer. If that's the case, then will we see anybody? Will we see Iris? Will we see whomever at Infocom in 2012 or 2013 or Cedia? Are these guys going to are they going to be that much integrated into our industry?
Well, I guess that would come down to, and sorry to jump right off the gun, there was a couple at Cedia this past year. There was a couple little upstart iPhone IR converter something boxes, guys that had little 10x10 booths in the corner of Cedia, and touting how you buy their $80 little adapter that connects to your network, and you can use their iPhone app to turn on your TV using an IR blaster. Yeah. And those guys, there was a few of those guys there. So I think, we may not see it this year, we may not see it next year, but this industry is definitely pushing that way. Like, I know ADT has been pushing their home system very hard. And, I've looked at it. Would I put it in my house? No. But there's a ton
different.
No, exactly. And that's the thing is, like us who are on this call, we are not your average consumer. We're not the guys we're the guys who walk in and look at this and laugh when we see it and go, that's cute. The same way that, if I'm ever in a Walmart or a Target and I see their $20 mount, I go, oh, cute, it's tinfoil. And I laugh and go, man, every mount I install or my guys install, they know that there's a chance I will come, all 200 plus pounds of me, and I'm going to hang on that mount.
You should just hire me to do it.
No, because,
Watch yourself.
Sorry. No, it was the commute time. Nothing to do with the weight. You're a little far away.
My mic was muted just then.
This is AV Week with 2-Ton Tim.
Oh, that's going to stick.
Matt.
That is the title.
Okay, here I'll tell you a story later. that is a nickname of mine from my childhood from my cousin. So.
Oh no!
It was fine. That's why I used it. So it's fine. Matt
We're not going
Scott.
to have a Margaret Chow moment here, are we?
No. George Tucker, Chris Neto, and Adrian Boyd. Gentlemen, take a drink, mute your mics, go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do, because it is time for the AV Week Job of the Week. Coming up after this, we're going to talk about ultra widescreen TVs, 1,000-foot VGA runs, and MySpace. That's right. I said MySpace. I don't believe I said it, but I did. This week's AV Week Job of the Week, it's brought to you by Rave Pubs. Go to ravepubs.com, RAVEPUBS. This job is from eventcreative.com. They are looking for an audiovisual salesperson. It is full-time. This is just a brand new job. They're looking for an AV salesperson and director. The responsibilities include selling and producing corporate meetings and events. Additional responsibilities include training of production staff and other salespeople. Salary, benefits, vacation, all of the different benefits and stuff. For more information, go to eventcreative.com, eventcreative.com, or to apply for the job, you can just go to ravepubs.com, RAVEPUBS.com. Go to the resources section, and under there is the link for the AV jobs. All right, you're listening to AV Week with your host, Two-Ton Tim, apparently, Matt D. Scott, George Tucker, Chris Neto, and Adrian Boyd. This comes from Yahoo News. Vizio is shipping, it says at least, sometime in February, the ultra-wide screen TV. Real basic, gentlemen. This is going to be a 2.35 to 1 as opposed to 16 by 9. This is a Cinescope display. My first question, and Chris, we'll start with you. Why didn't we start out with this? I mean, why did we start out with 16 by 9? If we're going to show movies, and movies are made in Cinescope, correct me if I'm wrong here. So why didn't we start out with this?
Maybe it's a furniture manufacturer problem. That, how wide can we get credentials, I guess. Personally, I love it. I've seen it. Everything I've read about it, it's awesome. I want it. We have it. We use it currently with PCs with a dual screen, widescreen type setup. The only thing that is sticking is in the pro world. Is Vizio yet accepted?
Well, not really.
I don't want to, I don't want to throw stones at it, but definitely at home.
But I don't even see it I try not to see it in homes.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let's be honest with this here. We talked to Rich Fregosa very very start of this call. He's at CES this right now as we speak, and he saw a very cool product from Sony. And Sony is I mean, I don't know the relationship between Sony and Vizio. I still think of Vizio as Sony. I don't know how that works from a business standpoint. But my main scare about this is the fact that it is kind of, Sony/Vizio. And if that's the case, then, well, it might go the way of, their 13-inch OLED or the mini disc or whatever else, whatever, bad product you can think of from Sony in the last 10, 20 years.
You're asking guys here that think wider is better to begin with, probably.
Yeah.
So, widescreen, ultra wide, whatever you want to call it, is definitely favorable. Again, goes back to what we've been talking about previously. Will the homeowner understand it, want it? I mean, we can be giddy over, the whole cinema style and widescreen about it because we know about it, because we've seen it or we know how movies are shot. But will, Joe at home care? I mean, NFL looks the same.
Well,
what is he gonna
until they decide that this is the next, after 3D, the next thing is going to be Cinescope. Yeah, we're going to shoot in Cinescope now.
Spartacus will look fantastic on it.
Incredible. You'll be able to see the dimple in Kirk Douglas's,
See it, you'll get lost in it.
More spiked chariots. That's
nice. Yeah. This is my big thing, though. Is the resolution on this? Did I not read that the resolution on this is still not true Cinescope? So they're doing some weird pixel mapping thing?
It's weird.
Well,
because it's not released
bring that
that
up
way.
too.
When we throw Blu-ray in or whatever, it's not technically in Cinescope anyways. It's you're still going to black bars, and they're doing something to get
so
rid
you're
of
zooming it.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and at that point it's like, don't get me wrong, I think it's super cool.
But it's wider, Matt.
I know, no. I love it. I would totally buy one, even though it says Vimeo, but I'd hide it in my basement where no one else could see it. And sorry.
It's where you keep the mother-in-law that you're embarrassed
Video snob. But that's my thing, is it's cool, but when there's no content for it anyways, it's like, really?
Well, that's the whole chicken and egg debate anyway.
And this goes back to what? HDTV and even the 4K we discussed a couple of shows back. It's great, but where's that sort of meshing and meeting of content to show and something to show it on? I mean,
It's 3D.
It's Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
don't even go with 3D.
No,
but it's a good analogy to 3D. I mean, it's a great analogy to 3D because for a long time, and we've all watched this, that manufacturers were touting 3D when there was nothing out there to show on these home systems or even on the professional systems in 3D.
See, I was hoping for smell-o-vision to come back. Yeah. Now widescreens.
What's funny?
This is the
3D?
third time Polyester the movie has shown up on this podcast. For those of you playing along at home, drink.
Oh yeah.
When we talk about 3D, believe it or not, we only see in 2D. It's our brain that interprets the 3D. So what's kind of funny is I watched Captain America in 3D without the glasses. Okay. And you want to know what the big difference? There's only certain scenes in 3D in the entire film, and they just look a little fuzzy. So,
and that was like when Tron came out. It wasn't completely 3D. It wasn't, and most movies aren't. I know I was working on a demo system just the other day, and I threw in one of the Shrek movies in 3D. And it's like, it's technically 3D, but there's almost no dimension to that movie to begin with.
So what you're telling me is that I should have a film strip tone every time 3D comes on. Put on your glasses. Ding!
Yeah, flip the page.
What is the reference disc for 3D then? Avatar?
Gosh.
I guess it would have to be, because everything I've read and everything I've looked at, that is an actual movie created for and by and around 3D.
Yeah,
it's not Beauty and the Beast that's being released this month in 3D, which all they did was took it and copied and pasted the freaking images, and one's for left.
Or Star Wars.
Oh, jeez.
Forced the depth perception. Yeah.
I still want it to be Vincent Price's Wax Museum. Come on.
No, I'll tell you, one that is very good is Monsters vs. Aliens.
Really?
Yeah, that is very good. We use that one a lot. There's one scene, I think it's like 23 minutes into the film, something like that, and the kid's playing with one of those paddle balls, with the little elastic that you used to buy at Cracker Barrel or whatever, and he's popping it, and you see it sideways, and then he slowly, starts essentially facing the camera with it, and every time we demo that for a client, every single time, head snaps back, whoa, where did that come from? And I, of course, try not to laugh because it's always funny.
Here's the sad thing: is I know what scene you're talking about, because
it's a good scene. So again, it comes down to that whole. I know up here
yes, we lost.
It's in the TVs. The same thing with the Vizio.
Matt, stop. We lost you. You said up. We know up here, and then you were like muted for a second.
Oh, lovely.
It was the uncomfortable pause.
It was.
Yeah. Up here, Canada, and no, we just don't have. We don't have the content. Like to say that you guys don't have content is one thing. We have. If it's not disc based, you don't get it here. There is no 3D content available over, either via satellite or cable at all. Yeah. There's no 3D HD or ESPN. There's no 3D HBO or whatever you guys have. We definitely don't have that.
You know why? Because the Canadian government is, because they're smarter than we are down here.
No, they're not. No, they just want money. That's what it is. Which I guess maybe is smarter.
Unless we started up an embargo against Canada that I don't know about.
Let's do that. Embargo. Yeah. So, all right. You're listening to AV Week. Real quickly, Chris Neto, Adrian Boyd, George Tucker, Matt D. Scott is here with us. Chris, you have to go, I understand. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Go do your meeting thing.
Take care, guys.
See you later, Chris.
Chris,
Have a good time. Bye.
Chris is at the AV help desk. Good Lord, you guys are ridiculous.
Postcards. Chris's mom called.
Let's continue on to the.
Oh, that's foul, man.
Jeez. Let's continue on.
Down the rabbit hole we go.
Down the big display, big screen talking. Sharp is unveiling the 80-inch touchscreen for the boardroom. And I said, yes, sign me up. Get me one, please. Adrian, is there a real practical purpose for this other than the fact that I can now sell an 80-inch Crestron touch panel?
More or less. I mean, I saw this when Alamo did their show in Chicago. Excuse me. But it was kind of cool. I mean, you can manipulate things. I see it really, in the CAD world, you could do a lot of cool things with it. And, it's kind of...
Now we lost Adrian.
No, I got some water down the wrong windpipe. Oh. But, yeah, I can see the application. Medical applications, definitely in school, GIS, anything with CAD, architecture, definitely can see this as a usable product.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Adrian on this. Although for $13,000 to $14,000, this is not entering even the high-end home theater system anytime soon.
Wait a minute.
But why would you need it?
Wait, time out. I'll push back on that. 20 years ago, when plasmas first came out, they were $30,000.
Okay. If they really want to be Madden for that much money, I'm sure we can find some clients. But
there are still guys who are buying the Panasonic professional panels for their theaters at 30 or was it $27,000 now for an 85-inch, or $50,000 for 103. So they're still out there. They're limited, but they're still out there.
Again, my point being that this is more corporate.
I know, but you could buy at Best Buy a plasma for $20,000. That's what they were going for.
Yes.
Yep.
But all you're offering me here really is a whiteboard system. Yes, it's got Skype built in. It's got GoToMeetings and WebEx built in. Or, as we were talking earlier about this whole sort of integration. I hate to use the word convergence, but the convergence of these prosumer models that do everything for every market. It's great for the manufacturer because they can make a one-time, expensive piece of equipment and it'll go across multiple markets. But I think it's really cool, but I don't see me putting into a school. I don't see it putting into even a high-end college.
Command and control would be really fun, though.
Yeah.
Yes. And I wonder, does it do multi-touch? Because if it doesn't do multi-touch, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this right now, it's not worth it to me.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, I didn't read that part.
It has to do multi-touch, but the other side is,
it does it.
I've done it. I don't know. I'm just saying it has to.
It doesn't say.
I've done a ton of work with Smart, who does the interactive whiteboards, and they've got themselves into a bit of a kerfuffle lately. Notwithstanding, it seems to be Canadian tech companies are just dare I say, retarded. It just sorry. It's I don't know any other word that actually describes
Matt,
it well.
They're market challenged.
Market challenge. That sounds like RIM to me. But
no, I'm sorry. RIM is intelligence challenged.
Well, yes, this is true.
They're very challenged right now.
Although their CES playbook is supposed to be pretty cool, from what people are saying.
And they have two CEOs, so hey.
Twice the fun.
Or is it two presidents? I forget.
No, it's CEOs. Okay. Two CEOs, because the job is too big.
Yeah. Yeah, because one guy couldn't run them into the ground, but that's beside the point.
No, but when you get two, you get there so much faster. It's like, it's just awesome. Yeah. Anyways, I see this being very, very big in the corporate boardrooms, because the downside that we've always had with Smart or any of the other real interactive whiteboards, when you put your hand up, it blocks the screen. Yeah. And I know, you can get around that to a degree with ultra short throw projectors, but this is like the perfect, application. And, I can also see it going into some of the like local TV stations and stuff, because they can get a very, if it has multi-touch and if it actually does everything it says in the press release it'll do, you can have local TV stations with $15,000 who can now achieve that super cool CNN watch me pull up this story.
Yeah, without the reprojection system.
Exactly. So I think it could be effective. Whether it won't or will is, completely up to the market.
Seen.
But yeah,
I think George is right. If it doesn't have multi-touch, it's dead in the water. So, from Rave Publications, Aurora claims 1,000 feet with new component VGA extender.
Oh, send me 4.
Okay, George, we'll start with you because you're about as acerbic as I am. Really, 1,000 feet VGA? I mean, I probably could get more excited over a wet piece of toast. We are living in a day and age of the analog sunset and the digital revolution and the whole bit. And I like most of Aurora's products. But really, I mean, why come out with 1,000-foot VGA when what the HDMI thing didn't come through or what?
Because they can.
Well, no, but I think part of this is a positive thing. And what is the positive thing?
Yes, please.
As the economy starts to come back, retrofitting equipment that you are loath to get rid of if you're a smaller system or a smaller company, but you want to expand the room or add stuff to it, this may very well be the product for you. From the staging world side or from the sort of install commercial, really commercial install side, like museums and stuff, this is a boon. I can send that VGA that's already existing that they don't want to get rid of that piece of equipment. They're not going to buy a new one. This gets me in the door and gets me more work with them to put in the other pieces of equipment plus keeping that stuff.
I don't buy it. I think it was. I think it's a short-sighted. I think it's a 1980s, 1990s.
You're making it sound like it's a short hole modem. I mean, come on. It's a decent piece of equipment.
No, it's a 56K modem.
It's still, but it's still something that is insanely prevalent in a lot of institutions and applications.
Yes, currently as it sits, but aren't people as they start upgrading and renovating? Are they not putting in digital? Are they just being so incredibly short-sighted that they continue to put in the VGA and the composite?
I don't think it's so much short-sightedness as it is cheapness. Like
I don't know, it's short-sighted. Okay,
well,
hang on for a second.
Yes.
Last year, a year ago, Intel and AMD and everybody who's anybody in the computer industry said, you know what, come 2014 or 2015, we're not going to give you VGA. That's why I'm saying it's short-sighted.
Yeah, but how many people still have, computers that only have VGA? Like, look at the business world. How many people... I know there's a lot of people who, as of, 6 weeks from now will show up with very sexy, covered in Gorilla Glass Ultrabooks. I'm still shocked at how many people I see show up for meetings or to do presentations with a Dell that's 5 years old or an old IBM, and it's their workhorse, and they're too stubborn to change.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still have a computer that runs XP, but you know what? I don't know. I don't see.
And I like them.
Well, the only issue is the fact
you got to remember, and when you look at large corporate environments that have a huge IT infrastructure and lots of computers, what's the old expression? Hey, you got a new computer. Well, it's just new to me. They recycle until they can't do it anymore.
So what is the half-life? What is the life expectancy of the average laptop or computer in the corporate industry? In the corporate environment,
depends on the user.
Well, no, I'm serious. There has to be a median here.
And the applications. I mean, if it's a programming tool and multimedia thing where you're doing all your graphics and Photoshop and stuff like that, and then you're done with it because you need to upgrade to faster and maybe movie editing, and you hand it down to say the receptionist and/or one of the guys who does just the billing, that's going to work.
Okay, so I'm not talking.
Look, I've been in companies.
I'm not talking about the secretary's computer. I'm talking about the one that's driving presentations. I'm talking about the one that you're seeing on the screen. I don't care if the secretary has Windows NT. I'm talking about the or 95. I'm talking about the source for the installations that we put in, and that's why I think it's short-sighted. I mean, yes, the guys make these things last, but you're not putting in a laptop or a PC into a boardroom that is going to drive your presentations that has only VGA. If you are, you're incredibly short-sighted.
Well,
No.
if you
Well, wait a
look
minute,
at, say, a PC in say, like a corporate
Or
environment.
Mac. I don't care.
Well, think about this. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the cheapest computer they can get a hold of from Dell or from whoever.
Not in the boardroom,
that
it's
comes
not.
with an embedded video card that 9 times out of 10 is going to be VGA on the board.
No, absolutely
if
not.
If they upgrade,
Amen,
then
brother.
they may
No.
do the card that's got DVI and
You're
maybe DisplayPort.
not listening to me.
You know,
Jeez.
again, the bottom line comes down to, even if you are putting in the infrastructure to run, fiber or HDMI or whatever, mini DisplayPort, for heaven's sakes, you know what always goes in as a backup? VGA! Because it's still here. and again, I know it's frustrating, but I have a boatload of projects that still only have VGA in the corporate world because that's all they want. And they always come back to the whole, yeah, we probably should update to something with HDMI or DVI or whatever it is. They go, whatever. I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, we're not in a big rush. Yes, you are.
Yeah, but again, the people that are, the corporate world is, I'd love to say, up to date on technology. As a rule, they're not. Like some of them, there's a couple guys that are, but for the most part, no, they're not. They're so behind.
And I guess
It's shocking.
Okay,
God forbid we bring up, House of Worship.
No.
I don't. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't
Then
think
it's
this
all
is a-
VGA.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Tim, you're in an institution of learning, are you not?
Yes.
Are they still VGA? Are you still dealing with legacy devices?
Yes,
I
you're
bet
still-
you
yes,
still
you're
have
still-
VCRs
okay.
rolling around.
Yes, you're still dealing with it, and I will get into why.
Do you
we're-
have VCRs rolling around?
Yes, I have VCRs.
Thank you. I
I'm
rest my
sorry.
case.
There's a reason for that.
Well, you know what? The next topic that we were going to talk about, why are they adding onto this wireless nice little device? Old school composite?
Yeah,
Because we still have them.
I know, but
Analog's
right.
not going to really ever go away. You'll still have the purists. I myself will try to keep a VCR handy.
Adrian.
Hey, I still have VHS you cannot get on DVD.
Well, and that
but you
is
don't
to
answer it
George's
to
point. The
DVD.
reason that my college has VCRs around is because there are a number of professors who swear that their favorite lesson on VHS is not available on DVD. So,
And where else am I going to play Americathon from? Come on.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention, even I have somewhere in my basement, I'm sure I still have it, I have an original Nintendo. And I know that's not VGA, but it's still analog.
it's still yes.
And I'm not looking forward to, not that I ever play it, mainly because I suck at it, but it's one of those things that I'd love to be able to show that to my kids
Yeah.
and hook it up to something if there's anything that's still available to ever display it. And that
Duck
may be
Hunt
why
on your
I'm...
plasma won't work.
No, I know. And that's
All
why I
right.
still have an 89, Panasonic tube TV in the cabinet that I keep for posterity's sake.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, you're listening to AV Week. Matt Scott, George Tucker, and Adrian Boyd are still with us. IO Gear, and George mentioned this, has developed a wireless. They call it a wireless 3D media kit. I don't want to mention the 3D part because it's, I hate 3D.
I'm melting.
But in addition to that, it will do 1080p, which is really cool, and 5.1 digital audio through 100 feet, even through walls, it says. George, I think this is cool with one caveat, if it works, and if it will
works.
transverse HDCP as well.
Yes, and I haven't seen it say that.
I haven't either, which is what concerns me.
One would presume, but I don't want to get caught in that one, that it would do HDCP. But do you also be careful when it says through walls? It means standard walls, if you read the press release, which means
2x4 sheetrock.
2x4s and sheetrock, not concrete, not my kind of walls in a 1901 Colonial with lath and
Plaster.
slat and plaster.
And not between floors. And it's already in the 5 gigahertz congested bandwidth with cell phones and cordless phones and
Oh,
all
now
the
you're
other
getting
stuff.
picky.
Well,
Come on.
my thing about wireless has always been, if everyone knows what an immersion sprinkler is, it's the sprinkler goes.
Yes. The one
Okay.
you can learn to dance from.
Yeah. Now, wireless, hold a my analogy for explaining wireless to people is stand in front of those with a bucket. Now try to catch as much water as you can. And that's with every wireless signal. Now start adding people with buckets next to you, trying to catch all that water. And that's wireless from the start to beginning, So it'll work. It's
the single most convenient method ever introduced. It's also the most unreliable method ever introduced, right?
Yeah. I mean, stick a microwave next to your Wi-Fi and see what happens.
Well, we've talked about this before, but I've also tagged it Brundlefly.
Yes, you have.
Not often, sometimes it works, but 802.11n, it's more Brundlefly than it is Seth Brundle. I mean, you get your issues with that. I think it's cool, though, because this, again, is one of those sort of integration lower end. I might want something later, 5 years from now, I want to make it better and more integrated and call Matt Scott to put a system in.
Nice.
But that it has a component input, which will do a composite signal with one of those little dingies for those out there too young to know what that is, and still get my other digital sources. Like you, I have a couple of older games that I love to be able to hook up. This is great. Until it dies and melts into a black hole, I'm still going to use it.
Yeah.
I won't tout it as the greatest thing ever. Well, maybe I will, but for nostalgia's sake. But still. I think this is a great little box. Again, HDCP, though, we need to confirm. Does it do that?
Yeah. And the fact that it's not in the press release does kind of concern me. So,
and they've already taken one kick at this can too. If they've got a previous version of this is like Rev 2 now.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe by Rev 3 they'll have HDCP.
Their first revolution wasn't too bad, or revision, I should say. Like it was acceptable for what it was, albeit it wasn't very price effective at the point. But for what it did, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you watched Twit's coverage of CES, they did. I think it was iPad Today, the live version. They went into Geffen's booth, and they were showing a version 2 media type center with Airport and a couple of other pieces all into one box with analog and digital inputs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think theirs was a little more expensive than the IO Gear price point, but still within reason.
Yeah, still within reason. So, all right, from System Contractor News, and by the way, our buddy Matt Scott is a what are you, a columnist or a contributor to SCN?
I don't know. I don't have an official title yet.
He writes, and they publish what he writes.
Yes. It's very cool.
So I'm very happy for him. That's very
Thanks.
Cool. So,
thank you. Bowing.
From SCN, though, they have the inaugural class of the Hall of Fame for AV professionals, honoring those who define the AV industry. The piece is written by a bunch of different people. The main one is by Kristen Nelson. And she writes, statistically speaking, easy for me to say, the people who make up this industry are overachievers in every sense. Not only do they have the smarts to do technically demanding work, but they also generously devote hours to volunteer efforts in nurturing their families both at work and at home. This is a list of virtually a who's who of manufacturers and consultants and people of that nature. One that I want to kind of highlight and as my kind of pick of, you guys got it right, was Randy Vaughn. Randy Vaughn passed away, but he was the guy who set up AE Systems. He was an incredible educator of other people and genuinely gave of his time for anybody who ever asked and would help out anybody who ever asked. So I think they got that one right. I kind of wanted to mention this guy. It's not necessarily that I don't want to tear down or build up this too much, but was there anybody that you think they maybe missed or somebody you think they got nailed right on the head? George?
Well, it's the first class, so I mean they're picking amongst their own, as it were, and I think everybody on here is deserving, and I would refrain from saying they missed somebody at this juncture until I see next year's, and then we can start sort of critiquing. Hey, why didn't you include so and so? And they're not mentioning these as the top 10 of all time at this point.
No. This is just their first go around.
Right. But they're all very instrumental guys that everyone all the youngsters in this business should start to know the names of, just like we know people like Raymond Scott or any other sort of off-the-side technology person who developed the things we're doing today.
Mm-hmm. All right, and this finally, I don't believe I'm going to talk about this, but we are. MySpace.
MySpace. Your space.
Oh, for crying out loud.
GeoCities Reduxed.
You know what? They're very nice. I jumped off of MySpace when it started being the creepy old guy pedophile place to hang out and troll for little girls. There was a time
I missed
there.
that feature.
No, there was a time there where there was like reports every night of some creepy old guy. There was
I can happily say I was never on it.
Well, first of all, what did MySpace start off as? Does anyone really remember what MySpace was intended for?
It was a social network. It was
no,
pre-Facebook.
It was for musicians. It was started by these guys in the Black Rock Coalition, the guys from Live in Color and others who promoted this thing heavily. It was for musicians who were unsigned or on their own independent labels to have a space. Remember, that's why I said GeoCities. The early days of making a web page was the easiest you could do it was front page, and even that was pretty awful. For them to have a space to embed music, for it to play, for their fans to contact them, and to be able to set up gigs.
Yeah.
But as their fans came to the spaces, they wanted pages. They built pages and then made these monstrosity, unreadable fusterclucks.
Very nice.
Hey, it's still clean.
Well put.
It's so
of sites. I mean, look at some of them. You could. I mean, it's like dark gray text on an off-white background with some kind of image in the back of it. Whoa.
And animated GIFs.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The land of animated. So anyhow, so that's where MySpace was, where they are now, and thanks to Justin Timberlake and a couple other people.
Can I just say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
You bringing sexy back?
He is. JT.
Unfortunately, he's also bringing MySpace back with him.
JT is, they're kind of relaunching and reinvigorating this as MySpace TV. Adrian, we'll start with you. Is this, besides the fact that I can't believe we're talking about MySpace, can this thing work? Can it compete? And how should we, as AV guys, integrate this? I mean, are we talking about modules inside smart TVs, or is this something like a standalone device like a Roku that we're going to have to deal with?
Well, I mean, Panasonic's already saying that they're having support in their, infrastructure, for MySpace TV. What's interesting is their thought was, well, it's just going to be like your regular TV. We're going to have all the same shows you watch on cable or satellite. But when you read the article, there's no mention of what networks are going to be involved, who's going to get content on it. Is it going to be like Hulu? Is it going to be like, something from what, Roku's got or other online services? They make no mention of it. They're just saying, hey, we're going to reinvent the MySpace brand, and we're going to stick it on TVs. And that was it.
Yeah.
You know what it means to me is it meant it's Panasonic that did this, right?
Yeah.
Panasonic said, "Hey, we can get Justin Timberlake to show up on our stage. We'll get press." It's just an app. If it's an app that's Vapor app, and if it ever happens, they'll make it work. If it doesn't happen, they got a one-time smack. I don't think they're going to get any damage from saying we're teaming with MySpace, because if it doesn't happen, no one cares.
Yeah,
pretty much. I watched the press conference from CES on it, and it was just very uncomfortable. To watch it, even, Justin looked uncomfortable. All the heads from Sony looked uncomfortable. The biggest laugh of the whole thing, outside of him saying, we're putting MySpace on your TV, everybody chuckles, was he made a reference to a box. And, it was bad.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll wait and see, and if it doesn't happen, well, then cool. We get to not worry about MySpace for another 3 or 4 years, so... All right, you have been listening to AV Week. I'm your host, Tim Albright. With us is Matt Scott, George Tucker, Adrian Boyd. Earlier was Chris Neto, and we had Rich Fregosa from CES. He's been guest blogging for CEPro this week. Gentlemen, that's all I have. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to mention or a story that you think we missed?
The one thing to touch on was that the biggest thing that came out, I believe it was either last night or this morning, that kind of caught me by surprise a little bit, was Beats not renewing their contract with Monster. Mm-hmm. That is the headphone industry has become a $1 billion industry, and Monster a la Beats own something like 53% of it. And I guess it came down to maybe not a misunderstanding. Well, I guess a misunderstanding of some form between Jimmy Iovine and Noah Lee, the head of Monster, and they have now dissolved that partnership. And Beats is going its own way, Monster's going its own way. Hence all the new, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and all the other crazy new headphone things. I think that's going to be a fairly big deal, because Beats got essentially sold 51% of their company to HTC earlier this year, and they're partnering with HTC and are looking to essentially. The way I read it was that they're becoming or trying to become the next Bose. What I mean by that is Bose, is kind of big in home stuff a little bit, but their biggest thing is headphones and car audio. If you buy an Escalade, the high-end audio in it is Bose. This is what Beats is trying to do. They're trying to get their audio into vehicles, into cell phones, into all these other devices, into TVs. So I think, I honestly, not being a huge Monster fan, I kind of like seeing that. I kind of like seeing them separate. But I think it's a big, it kind of got lost with CES this week. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a bigger deal than anybody really realizes, because that headphone market is just ridiculous.
I think that was also one of Rich's things, is that he said, this is the year of the headphone there at CES.
Oh yeah.
So. Awesome. Well, that is Matt D. Scott. You can find him at OmegaAudioVideo.com, on Twitter at Omega Audio Video, at Matt D. Scott, and my favorite, Matt Scott's hair. So thank you.
Matt Scott's hair might be getting a cut. We may be trimming it all down. I don't know. Oh, I know.
I have some ideas.
It's the wrong season for that, Bubba.
It is the wrong season.
I know, dude.
Especially up north.
Yeah.
Trust it. From a shiny head like me, wait until the spring.
Yes, but have y'all not seen my big Esky hat?
Yes, I've seen
You've seen my Esky hat. I think I'll be okay. Right. I'll survive.
The other gentleman there is George Tucker. He is at Tucker2s on Twitter. He works for World Stage. And what's your website again?
It's Tucker's Tuesday at tuckerstuesday.typepad.com.
Thank you much. Also, George is doing, we just did DIY, which should pop this Wednesday.
Yep.
The new
episode
DIY. Episode 2. And we are in the process of producing it's royal we. George is in the process of producing a social network for AV show. So that should be coming out soon, too. So.
Yes.
Adrian Boyd, he is from Vector Sketch. You are the _AV_CAD_guy. Is that right? On Twitter.
That would be right.
So, hey, I did that off the top of my head. I'm awfully proud of myself.
Excellent.
So he's
Gold
from
star.
He's from Vector Sketch. Hey, you. He's from Vector Sketch. So thank you so much for coming by.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
My name is Tim Albright. If you want to follow me and my ramblings on Twitter, it is T as in Tim, D as in David, ALBRIGHT. But more importantly for me, and more importantly for all the AV Nation guys and gals, please go by the website. We have a new home with Rave Publications. It is ravepubs, ravepubs.com/AVNation. ravepubs.com/AVNation. As I mentioned, the social network, the social AV podcast is coming down the pike. We have one about education, and we're going to try something in a couple weeks with Gary K on a daily basis. So that should be interesting. And I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet, but it's going to be me and Gary kind of just grousing for 5 or 10 minutes on a daily basis. So just stay tuned to that. Check it out, ravepubs.com/AVNation. Thanks so much, and that's all the time we have for AV Week.